Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Institute of Leadership and Management webinar, Achievement, Sustaining Growth. My name is Nicholas Lynch. I'm a consultant that work with the Institute of Leadership and Management, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. So I'm very pleased to introduce Adam Tufnell. Adam is the Managing Director of One Fathom, which specializes in delivering quality solutions for developing people, teams, and leaders. Adam is an around-the-world yachtsman who tells me that he went the wrong way around the world, and he's an expert in leadership and teamwork. So, Adam, can I hand over to you?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. As Nicholas introduced me, my name's Adam Tufnell. So my background is maritime. I sailed, indeed, there's a right and a wrong way to sail around the world, and I sailed the wrong way around the world with an academic background in psychology and philosophy. And today I work as a coach, working with teams and leaders, as well as specializing in that space of bringing in teams and leaders on to recognize and realize their potential. So the context and frame that we're talking about today really does stem from the authenticity as a leadership piece. So as you may be aware, within the ILM, there are 5 different dimensions of leadership, and they are authenticity, vision, achievement, ownership, and collaboration. There's 49 webinars, and each focuses on the different components of each dimension, highlighting the critical, the most essential to assist with your own personal development as a leader. As with all these things, the key is to actually take this and try it on. Take these things, the bits that really resonate, the bits that fit, just kick the wheels with it and give it a go. So the third dimension of the webinar series is achievement, which is what we're looking at today. And there we go, and what we're looking at today. So you find that great leaders are high performers, they have direction, they deliver measurable results, there's pride in what they do, there's pride in their team, they stretch themselves, there's an adaptability to ensure sustainability. And in and around all of this component, there's an awareness that failure is a thing, be happy and content to go out and experience failure firsthand. So the key focus around sustaining growth. The fundamental component to all of this is down to the fact from a leadership perspective. Achieving leaders contribute to the sustainability of their organization. And the 2 key words here are the words achieving and leaders. So it's obviously highly subjective. And what we're going to have a look at today, some of the components that we can use as leaders that then help deliver to the sustainability. So we look at coaching, and I think the key here is from a leadership perspective, there's a number of different hats. I find in the work that I do in terms of leadership and team coaching, one of the biggest surprises that I find people having is the concept of self-coaching. There's peer-to-peer coaching within the team, within the company, but there's also this concept of coaching yourself. Get this bit right and everything slots in. Get the people bit right and the whole sustaining growth piece will follow as a natural product. And the 3 key areas that we're going to look at this afternoon that contribute to this concept of sustaining growth: environmental sustainability, know your market, and know your supply. So we're going to kick off with know your market. And the running theme to all of this stuff is people. If you get the people element correct, everything else will follow. That's going to be the key take home from this. The sustaining growth will follow as a natural byproduct to your authenticity as a leader. And this is where we find within the ILM framework, this is how it all slots together. So understanding and knowing your market. The key here is to specify your target customers and recognize relevant competitors. Now, there's one of the lessons that we can take from the whole ocean racing background that I have. It's a very easy trap to fall in when you're racing across oceans to focus on the sked, on the results that you come through every 6 hours, to look at how you are performing against the boats. about how you're performing against the competition. And what you find is the teams that focus on what the other vessels are doing, what the competition is doing, lose sight of their own performance. So when we talk about looking at competition, the key here is to make sure that your own ship is in good order. And this is absolutely fundamental. Once you and your team are functioning 100%, then really, okay, take a look at what the others are doing. But focus on your game and what you're doing and make sure that you're functioning and your team are functioning 100%. Now what we've done is we've separated 4 key customer markets: consumer markets, business markets, global markets, and non-profit and governmental markets. Now the bullet points in each actually correlate to all of the different spaces. So for example, I've highlighted the careful pricing required. It's an awareness of who you're talking to, and part of the whole relationship with markets. And when we look at the knowing suppliers, the relationship is key. It's all about people. Get the people bit right, and everything else will then follow. Target markets and your market offering. So again, it's the people element. Get the understanding of what's actually being sought. Get the actual understanding of what's being looked at. So when you're talking about the buyers, when you're looking at your clients, understand what there is to understand about them. Understand where they're living. Understand what they do, how they breathe, what they look for tea. Just really get into the skin of your customer. If you're dealing to a narrow focused audience, so for example, you might have 2, 3, 4 clients that pay a lot for your service. That's very easy to do. If you're the likes of Facebook and you've got multi-million customers dotted around the planet, or just create a persona. Create a persona to understand the individuals, really get into the skin and really get into what your customers are having, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what makes them happy, what makes them sad. How do they actually view you and what you and your team are doing? How do they view you and your company are doing? And this awareness is really key, really, really important. There's a product life cycle, which again is something just to be aware of, and how it applies to companies large or small in principle remains the same. And I think from this, the key take home, and when the slide deck becomes available after the webinar, just have a look through and consider the products or services you have out there, and just consider where are they? Where are these products today, and where do you want them to be tomorrow? Where are you actually going with this? And again, consider this in terms of the first person, but also look at, well, how would your customer, if you were to sit down and talk to your customer, how would they feel? What's their perception of what's going on? So know your suppliers. We look at collaborative relationships. So invariably between you and your supplier, you are going to have a contractual obligation. There is going to be a piece of paper or an electronic signature somewhere where everyone understands what they need to do, when and why. If you haven't, then, well, let's get that one sorted. But the key thing is to have a piece of paper, have something written up, and then pop it in a drawer and forget about it. Because by having the partnership approach to what you do, by having a partnership approach to your suppliers, you'll find the conversation is very, very different because you're working collaboratively. You're not interested when the inevitable bumps of heads arrive. There's no interest whatsoever in finding a compromise. Compromise is not particularly useful to anyone. However, to find collaboration is a very, very different. If we find collaboration, then both parties are then looking at how to achieve a shared vision and outcomes. So the key is this whole concept of collaborative relationships, working in partnership, having a relationship with your suppliers just to check in and say, are we paying you enough? Or we need to reduce how much we're paying for you because we've got issues further down the line. But it's having that relationship. It's having that relationship with your suppliers to ensure that they understand where you're at, and so that you understand where they're at. So again, strong supplier relationships. In essence, what this slide says is, get this bit right, everybody wins. Going from a leadership perspective, you look at skippers, it's driving boats, driving offices, driving companies. Often leaders will feel a necessity to take everything on themselves. So when we look at this, there's an awful lot of work to be done here. Yes, as the leader, you need to have an awareness of what's going on. Yes, as a leader, this is very important. However, as a leader, you don't need to be doing all of this stuff yourself. You have people around you to help. If you are a one-man band, then we'll take a look at this and evaluate each of these areas and consider, okay, so I've got each of these areas considered. Where are the weak spots? Where do I need to dedicate some resource here? Some of my time resource? Where do I need to invest some effort? Why bother? Not, if it all goes due south, then you potentially you've got issues. I mean, this is quite a big use of child labour, unsafe, unsatisfactory workplace. It doesn't matter where you are in the food chain. This stuff really does matter. This is the world. If we look at what's happening in terms of the Senate with Mark Zuckerberg at the moment, when leaders don't pay attention, you find yourself as a leader in awkward places. So the key here is to take the attention, to use the people, to use your resources to protect yourself against all this area. Sustainability is an important word in the public sector, with government departments all having to meet various environmental targets. Accordingly, suppliers to the public sector are expected to follow suit with sustainability policy, often stipulated if they wish to tender for contracts. Increasingly too, the private sector is expecting more environmental responsibility to be shown by their supply chains. What does this mean? What does this mean for us, for anyone that's in business? Well, it kind of means if you want to get a job tomorrow, if you want to win the tender tomorrow, this whole environmental sustainability stuff is really important. Getting the whole corporate social responsibility piece correct is really important. This is the difference. This is the difference between winning that tender, winning that contract, or missing out. Well, there's some benefits. It can be cost effective in terms of consumption, waste, recycling, increasing efficiency throughout your supply chain, differentiate, competition. Yeah, these are all valid. These are all kind of things that fit nicely. But ultimately, in a leadership space, in an ecology space, it's about doing the right thing. Aside from anything else, as leaders, as anyone that's sat on this call right now, anyone that's watching the video of this, well, you know this is something that you need. And if you feel that you've got a strong sustainability policy already, then ask yourself, okay, so out of 10, what would I score it? 0 being non-existent policy, 10 being I've got the best ever in the world. Well, just consider what would it take to nudge that. So if you scored yourself an 8, what would it take to be 8.5? So yes, there are economic cases to complete and develop your sustainability policy, but ultimately it's about doing the right thing. Triple bottom line: people, profit, planet. It all slots in. The stuff all links together. You get the people bit right. This is, as a leader, this is something you do as a leader. Understand where you're at. This is really key. Everybody leads, everybody follows. We all have different roles we use at different times. So what I would encourage you to do as a leader, consider yourself, consider what your vision is. How well have you communicated your vision to your people? How well are they responding? When you talk about profit, is it really all about money? Is that the only thing that you're in business for? Well, question that. Does that mean you'd exit for a massive sum to sell to absolutely anyone, past or present? From the planet side of things, the ecology of the planet. Sea levels are rising. Well, this is the bit we can all make a difference with. And as a leader, this is the thing where you can make the example, you can make the difference. If you're not the leader, then you have space. You have space to demonstrate good behavior. If you're not the leader and you are a follower in your workplace, then utilize this. Utilize this opportunity to go and just create some space. Chat to your leader, chat to your board, chat to your directors. What are you doing? If you're doing something, then well, let's do more. If you're a leader and none of your staff are coming to you, none of your team are coming to you to ask what you're doing and how you're doing it, then consider, well, am I missing something here? Because if I'm not doing this, well, I must be missing something. Well, thanks very much for listening in. And I'd like to hand back over to Nicholas. So Nicholas, if you're there.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. And just a reminder to everyone that you can submit a question by typing your question in the question pane, funnily enough. So if you have any questions, please, we have a few, but please submit them now. Adam, maybe the first question around this sort of definition of sustainability and what it means to have sustainable growth. Do you see that this as a topic has grown in recent years? And in particular, maybe to think you talked a bit about environmental issues, but it's grown from those environmental issues, ecological issues, and it's grown more widely. Is that how you see sustainability as a sort of a challenge?
Yeah, I think, Nicholas, what we're all going to find in business is that the people that you think who your competitors are, I pretty much promise you that they're not. Your competitors, the 13-year-old girl sat in Costa building a business on an iPhone. Because this generation, this is absolute. The feeling that you have, and I do some work in schools, and I do some coaching work with some young people, and the whole pressure on doing the right thing. And I think what we'll find is the workplace will demand this of us. And aside from it being the right thing to do, aside from it being stuff that we actually want to do. Nicholas, if you're not familiar with, but I would certainly recommend taking a look at, have a search online for the United Nations Sustainable Goals,
Right.
And pick one. I mean, I personally, from a 1 Fathom point of view, the goal that we've picked at 1 Fathom is beneath the water. It's so what can I do as the leader to raise awareness? I go, okay, so I can do a webinar, I can mention this, and every workshop that I do, every coaching session that I do, I encourage my colleagues and clients to do the same. And I think it's happening, it's real. And I think it's about being part of that and embracing this as an exciting opportunity and being in front of the curve before legislation is passed, which will force everyone to be doing this stuff anyway.
Maybe flowing on from that, because you talked quite a bit about having the right policy and a sustainability policy. Someone's asked around smaller firms, so a lot of smaller firms might not have a policy at all. Yeah, they might, bigger firms have these sort of big legalistic documents. A lot of smaller firms might not actually have a policy at all. And also, I think linked to that is it's great to have a policy, a written document that's everybody in your firm signs off on, but people struggle to bring that really to life. So I wonder if you could, how you see it maybe for smaller firms and how you see it putting policies actually into practice.
I think what you've got there is actually, in some ways, it's a lot easier, because with the smaller firms, you've got the situation where the leader, founder, owner is likely to know the names of everyone in the company. They're going to know, everyone's going to know everyone else. Everyone's going to know birthdays. Everyone's going to know everything there is to know about each other. And with that space, and again, this just to draw on one of those great things, with the 10 of us on this call right now, we could trot out some vision and values. If we were to go sailing this afternoon and jump on a 80-foot boat, go sailing for the weekend, we could trot out effectively the vision and values in 5 minutes. It's the stuff that we all know and we all do. I mean, I could just, for example, things be on time on watch, things like don't step over a job, things like make the effort to put things in the bin, things like clean up after yourself. Those kind of really fundamentals. And the difference is, as the skipper, if I turn around and said, okay, here are the rules, you're going to follow them, and we're going to start with because I said so. Well, there's a very different level of buy-in, arguably, if there's any buy-in at all, as opposed to, okay, 10 of us sitting around the table, we're all on a boat together for the next few days. How do we want to be? And then, as a leader, anything that's missed out, we can just nurse from the team. And I think from a smaller company perspective, that principle is exactly the same. If it's led by the people, the buy-in is there. If it's led by the people, again, I think I'm sure at some point, but the whole work with Patrick Lencioni and the 5 dysfunctions of the team. So, for example, if you want to learn how to run a dysfunctional team, follow the instructions. It's a great book that I'm sure we're familiar with. But one of the come-throughs from that is this whole concept of, if people are heard, they're more likely to follow decisions that they disagree with. So it's giving the forum to have that contribution. It's giving the forum. So if you do have a smaller company, if you're a part of that, then it's okay. Well, let's spend some time. Let's just here are the 17 United Nations Sustainable Goals. We've got a team of 10 people. Let's pick one. Let's pick one for 6 months. Let's pick one for a month, and let's then have the team sponsoring. As a leader, you don't need to be taking this stuff on. As the leader, you can be encouraging your people, your team, to do this, and you then have a sponsor and have a barometer. So I think it's about getting the buy-in from the people. That's the key to this, Nicholas.
Yeah, somebody's asked around self-coaching, because you talked a little bit at the beginning about how that can help with sustainability and leadership. Maybe could you say a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So the self-coaching, again, I'm sure maybe familiar with the whole kind of concept. Ultimately, it's sort of meta-model questions. So a meta-model question is basically a question that starts with a what, or a how, or possibly a why, which you might want to consider using. But if you start with, so for example, some takeaways from this, from some self-coaching would be, as a leader, what does I would start with, just quite simply on a piece of A4 paper, draw some lines across it, and start with 3 questions. What does sustainability actually mean to me? What does sustaining growth, what does it actually mean to me as an individual? What does it mean to my team and my company? And almost the third box being kind of a so effing what? Why waste my time with it? It's all absolute. It's a complete waste of time. I can make much more cash if I just pollute the oceans and shove smoke in the sky. No. And actually just have that from a self-coaching perspective. What you can do is you can use some of the tools that you take from any coaching environment and deploy them. And that's the start. And I think you can take that self-coaching and really, and the key, Nicholas, to this is making the time, invest the time. Everyone's busy. Everyone's got stuff on. Everyone's got families. If you haven't got families, there's other stuff to do. There's emails to be read at 4:00 in the morning. If you're running a small company, then the chances are we all have mornings. We're starting at 4 a.m. and finishing at 2 a.m. some 22 hours later. We've all got the t-shirt. Frankly, it's not good enough. It's about making the time and investing the time to allow that self-coaching space, and actually use that. So if you're going to use this as an opportunity, I'd encourage you to step back and actually have a look at, as a leader, what do I actually stand for? What do I actually stand for in terms of the visioning and values piece? So as an individual leader, am I actually living the behavior that I want to be seeing from my team? Am I actually doing this? Am I, for example, complaining that someone else is late whilst I'm then turning up 10 minutes late to meetings myself because I'm the leader and I can get away with this? So I think the key thing there in terms of self-coaching, first step is make some time, whether that's 25 minutes within a week, 25 minutes within a month, but hard lock it into your calendar. And within that space, then just looking to start with some really high level questions and say, okay, so what are we currently doing around sustainable growth? What can we do more of? What score are we at? And I think that's probably the key there, Nicholas, is to create the time to do this. And this is create non-distract time. Phone off, email off, computer turned off, good old-fashioned pen and paper.
Yeah. Okay, great. Adam, thanks. We're running out of time. Thanks for your presentation, and thanks for answering our questions today, and thanks to everyone who submitted a question. On behalf of the Institute of Leadership and Management, I'd like to thank Adam for his excellent presentation today, and thank you all for dialing in, and wish you all an excellent afternoon. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nicholas.